Chapter 8 of Das Kapital is about constant and variable capital. This chapter is mostly refurbishing and further categorizing the concepts that we already talked about in the previous chapters. So to some of you, this stuff might be familiar. But you know, it never hurts to take a second look at these things, so let's get to it, shall we? Constant capital is past labor already present in commodities that are used as a means of production in the current labor process. So you could say it is value invested in the means of production. Here, value gets transferred into the new commodity that is being produced. The process of transferring value can happen under different circumstances. Sometimes the physical materials literally end up in the product of the labor. It is very easy to see how this happens. For example, if I use wool to make a shirt, the wool literally ends up in the shirt itself. But sometimes that's not the case. Like the scissors that I'm using to produce this shirt shouldn't literally end up in the shirt, because that would be stupid, right guys? Here it's a little harder to see how the value is being transferred. The best way to look at it is to view the scissors as depreciating in value and the shirt as increasing in value, and that's some sort of balance. The scissors will eventually break or get dulled because we're using them too much. Thereby, they are losing value. This loss in value gets transferred over to the product of our labor, our shirt. The scissors only possess value as long as they can be used in the production process. Every time they get used, their value decreases a bit. It is thus strikingly clear that means of production never transfer more value to the product than they themselves lose during the labor process by the destruction of their own use value. So these are two very different forms of value transformation. By the way, it's important to note that constant value doesn't mean fixed value. Rather, the value flows constantly from the means of production into the product of the labor, but the value in neither one of those stays fixed. Let's now take a closer look at variable capital. Variable capital is really just current labor. In other words, it is capital invested in the hiring of labor power. Here, value gets transferred into the products through the labor process, with our labor creating that value. Without this variable capital, the whole production process would stop. Laborers therefore have the power to destroy constant capital-like machines simply by refusing to work with these machines. The value of the constant capital isn't worth anything if there's no variable capital. That awesome machine isn't going to do you any good if you don't have a worker to operate it. Now, I do realize that we're way into the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and with automation and AI, it can sometimes seem like machines don't really need humans anymore. But I challenge you to give me one example of a labor process that doesn't involve a single human. I honestly can't think of one where there isn't a human involved, at least at some level. By the way, I'm serious. Please comment if you can think of one. I'd love to debate this in the comments. The total value of a commodity is made up of the value of constant and variable capitals and the surplus value. And since Marx and me both love equations, we'll express this with C plus V plus S, C plus V plus S. For the capitalist, controlling variable capital is really the most tricky part here. I mean, the machines aren't going to go on strike and have annoying demands like a 40-hour work week or higher wages. So the capitalist must avoid that the workers ever realize that they're really the ones creating the surplus value. Otherwise, they might demand some part of that surplus value for themselves. Alright, thank you for watching, and also thank you for all the nice and encouraging comments. We really appreciate those a lot.